October 1977. The Sex Pistols are banned from the radio, the British pound is losing a fight with gravity, and somewhere in Tokyo, Honda engineers are quietly building Europe's future. Meanwhile, on Top Gear, there's no sign of turbochargers, no screaming V12s, and absolutely no Stig. Just three very normal cars, the kind you'd see in a motorway car park next to a sandwich wrapper. But don't be fooled by the bland shapes and modest badgework. This episode is where the future shows up wearing chrome and plastic. First, the Volkswagen Golf Mk1, the quiet German hatchback that didn't just define the 1980s, it invented them. Efficient, crisp, and impossible to kill. Think of it as a beetle that went to university, got a job, and stopped listening to its parents. Then, the Vauxhall Cavalier Mk1, Britain's attempt at corporate domination on four wheels. Built with a sensible tie and a mileage allowance in mind, this was the car your dad got excited about, just before he complained about the tax bracket. And finally, the Honda Accord Mk1, Japan's Trojan horse. So well built, so quiet, and so politely relentless that by the time anyone noticed, it had already sold 1 million units and taken your parking spot. If reliability were a weapon, this was a silencer. This isn't an episode about flash, it's about precision, momentum, the long game. The Golf didn't shout, it executed. The Cavalier made mediocrity feel professional. And the Accord? It snuck in under the radar and rewrote the rules while everyone else was on their tea break. So roll up your sleeves and lower your expectations. This is Four Wheels and Fuel, Episode 7, where the 70s start dying and the future quietly pulls up in the slow lane. Let's start with the car that quietly replaced a global icon.
A new VW is here. Golf. The Volkswagen Compact. A lot of power, a lot of space, a lot of fun. Golf, the Volkswagen Compact. Great car, great performance, and great fun.
Volkswagen Golf Mk1. This is the Volkswagen Golf Mk1. The car that ended the Beetle era and launched something sharper, smarter, and a lot more modern. By 1977, it was already reshaping European roads. No engine in the back, no weird curves, just a Giugiaro-designed box on wheels with front-wheel drive, a water-cooled engine, and a boot that actually worked. Top Gear gave it a blink in Episode 2, but now it was taking over. Driven by everyone from students to pensioners who were tired of pushing their Morris Marina uphill. At launch in 1974, you had two engine choices, a 1.1 or 1.5-litre four-cylinder. Modest on paper, but thanks to a lightweight body, it moved with surprising ease. More importantly, it just worked, even in January, even on a hangover. Handling was crisp, steering was quick, and the manual gearbox shifted with mechanical honesty. In a time when many cars handled like trolleys with loose wheels, the Golf stayed planted and composed. It also had its quirks. Two-door models featured a front seat tilt mechanism with a handle halfway down the seat back. Easier to grab, but the seat almost never returned to the exact same position once you let it go. Add in the roller-style dashboard ashtray, and you had German engineering solving problems you didn't know you had. Inside, it was austere but efficient. Thin seats, blocky instruments, no fake wood, just logic in plastic form. It didn't feel cheap, it felt deliberate. It was also practical. Fold-down rear seats, wide hatch, and cabin space that made the Cortina feel like a broom closet. You could fit your shopping, your suitcase, or your mate's band gear without removing the headrests. This wasn't a car for posters. It was a car for life. No drama, no attitude, just endless, uncomplaining mileage. But then, Then came the GTI. Launched in 1976, it transformed the sensible Golf into a back-road weapon. It looked sharp with its red grille trim, plastic wheel arch extensions, black frame around the rear window and tartan seats. But the real surprise was under the bonnet, a 1.6-litre fuel-injected engine that delivered proper punch. It felt tight, agile and eager, like it was built for Sunday mornings and late-night blasts. No chrome, no nonsense, just speed you could use every day. It didn't wear a cape or roar for attention, it just outdrove the lot of them, and still had room for your groceries in the boot. Volkswagen thought they'd sell a few, maybe 5,000 GTIs tops, just a niche experiment for the mildly unhinged. But the world had other plans. By the time the Mark I bowed out, they'd built 461,690 of them. And that golf ball gear knob? It wasn't cooked up in a boardroom. Chief designer Herbert Schaefer, a golf fanatic in the 70s, literally took a ball, jammed it on the stick, and said, "So, passed." That wasn't branding. That was a backswing with attitude. Did you know? Volkswagen once built a prototype Golf Mk1 with sliding doors back in 1973. The idea was to make parking in tight spaces easier and avoid whacking cyclists with carelessly flung doors. It never made production, too complex and expensive, but imagine how bizarrely cool a sliding door Golf would have been. Car people are weird, and that's why we love them. So the Golf Mk1 didn't change history overnight. It just showed up, did everything right, and kept doing it long after its rivals turned to rust. And that was more radical than anyone realized.
Vauxhall Cavalier. Live a little. Vauxhall Cavalier at your Vauxhall dealer now.
Vauxhall Cavalier Mk1, Saloon. Now for something proudly British, sort of. This is the Vauxhall Cavalier Mk1, the car that tried to convince your dad he didn't need a Cortina, just a bit more badge confidence and a company fuel card. Launched in 1975, the Cavalier was Vauxhall's masterstroke of rebadging. Underneath the Griffin badge, pure Opel Ascona. It was German engineering disguised in a brown three-piece suit. And for fleet managers across Britain, it hit the jackpot. Top Gear didn't light any fireworks for it, but they didn't need to. This was a car that sold itself to reps, regional salesmen, and middle managers who measured status by who had electric mirrors. The Vauxhall Cavalier was available as a 2- and 4-door saloon, as well as a 2-door booted coupe. Under the bonnet, a 1.6 or 1.9-litre engine. Most got the 1.6, simple, torquey, and just about quick enough to overtake a tractor without writing a letter to your insurer. Paired with rear-wheel drive and a 4-speed manual, it was lively without being reckless. The car equivalent of a firm handshake. What made it shine, or at least glow dimly, was how easy it was to live with. Predictable handling, soft ride, loads of boot space. Even the dashboard, full of basically nothing and fake leather, had a kind of brutal honesty. But the quirks? Oh yes, the base model came with 1-door mirror. That's it. Want a second? Pay extra. Automatic? Not for your purse. A clock? Who do you think you are, James Bond? And then there was the steering. Light when parked, heavy at speed. Like it was punishing you for moving. Yet for all its bean-counted simplicity, the Cavalier Mk1 was good. It didn't squeak, didn't rattle much, and in the era of Allegros and Marinas, it felt like someone had read the instruction manual before building it. It became a motorway mainstay, an office on wheels, a British success story. Assembled in Belgium, designed in West Germany and tested in Millbrook, Bedfordshire. Was it exciting? Not really. But for the men in short sleeves with clipboards and petrol receipts, the Cavalier was perfect. And frankly, that's who ran the country. Did you know Vauxhall once sold a Cavalier convertible called the Centaur? Unveiled in 1978, it was based on the 2.0 GLS Coupe and converted by McGraw Engineering. Yet it still carried a factory warranty and could be ordered through any Vauxhall dealer on behalf of Crayford. It had Ross-style wheels, its own Centaur badging, and even a special commission number in the glove box. Only 118 were built, and just a handful survive today. A proper rarity, and proof that even the sensible Cavalier had a wild streak. Fleet favorite, 1 mirror, 2 complaints per mile, built to manage expectations.
However, the most novel of the new Japanese models is the newly arrived Honda Accord. Although Honda are clearly the world's largest motorcycle manufacturer, on the car side they've a long way to go to achieve Datsun and Toyota levels here. The Accord is a Japanese Golf really, yet another front-wheel drive, 3-door hatchback. As far as Honda goes, then it's a big sister for their Civic.
And now, the ambush. Honda Accord Mk1. This is the Honda Accord Mk1, the Japanese compact that didn't just arrive in Europe, it infiltrated it. Quietly, politely, and with build quality that made half the continent uncomfortable. Launched in 1976, the Accord was Honda's follow-up to the Civic. Bigger, sleeker, and aimed directly at the segment dominated by the Escort, Golf, and Cavalier. It didn't shout, it didn't flex. It just worked. Perfectly. The Top Gear of 1977 didn't quite know what to do with it. Here was a hatchback that looked European, behaved German, and was built with the kind of obsessive neatness usually reserved for Swiss watches and origami swans. Under the bonnet, a 1.6-litre inline-4 with Honda's CVCC technology, compound vortex-controlled combustion. The name alone sounded like science fiction. What it actually did was lower emissions without killing performance. Clever, efficient, so very Honda. The gearbox, a slick shifting 5-speed manual. Yes, 5 gears. In a compact car, in 1977. While the rest of Europe was still figuring out synchromesh, Honda was handing out overdrive like mints. Inside, it was a revelation. Clear instruments, firm seats, soft plastics, and every switch placed where your fingers naturally wanted to go. It even had a quartz digital clock, something most British cars would call witchcraft. And the steering? Light but precise. The ride? Composed. The whole car felt like it had been assembled by someone who actually liked driving, or at least respected the driver.
There are also lights here to warn you if a door isn't shut properly or if the tailgate has been inadvertently left open.
Did you know? The first Honda Accord came with a little dashboard display that lit up to show if a door or the tailgate was open. In 1976, most European family cars didn't even bother with a warning light for low fuel. Yet Honda was already giving you a primitive form of what we'd now call car status monitoring. But the real party trick? It didn't break. Not really. While your Cortina was rusting quietly in the rain, the Accord just kept going. Oil, fuel, occasional spark plug, that's all it asked. It wasn't exciting, but it was relentless. It undercut its rivals on price, outlasted them in quality, and charmed reviewers without ever trying to be charming. This was Japan's opening move, the soft handshake before the corporate takeover. The Accord Mk1 didn't win people over with flair. It did it with logic, with silence, with relentless, unfailing competence. And that's what made it dangerous. Digital clock, Rust resistance, semi-automatic weirdness. The quiet revolution started here. 3 cars, 3 countries, 3 entirely different ways of thinking. The Golf Mk1, a German hatchback so tightly engineered it made the rest of the class look like they'd been built during lunch break. The Vauxhall Cavalier Mk1, a rebadged Opel with just enough British flavor to sneak into company car parks and stay there for a decade. And the Honda Accord Mk1, Japan's quiet revolution. No slogans, no drama, just bulletproof reliability wrapped in a well-ironed shirt. Together, they didn't just compete, they changed the rules. While some manufacturers were still stapling chrome to rust and calling it progress, these 3 were setting the blueprint for the next 30 years of everyday motoring. This wasn't a battle of speed, it was a war of competence. And by the end of it, only one thing was clear. The future had already arrived, and it was wearing plastic bumpers, old keys, faded badges, worn-out seats, and somehow still unforgettable. Got memories? Leave them below. Next time on 4 Wheels and Fuel, we head to November 1977. No hatchbacks, no humble runabouts. Instead, a luxury off-roader that snuck into the country club through the tradesman's entrance, a Bavarian saloon that turned cornering into an art form, and a Swedish tank with seatbelts on its seatbelts. It's the Range Rover, the BMW 3 Series, and the Volvo 244. One's built for mud, one's built for the Autobahn, one's built to outlive you. You don't want to miss it. So like, subscribe, and prime your analog seat adjuster. Episode 8 is going to hit hard, in a very quiet, very dignified way.